Our next guest says the nuclear agreement allows Iran to retain a vast enrichment capacity to continue its nuclear research and development and to gain an industrialized nuclear program once key provisions of this deal begin to expire in as little as 10 years. Joining us tonight, Congressman Ed Royce. He's the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, also a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Mr. Chairman, good to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Lou.
The president today framed this deal, which most people, I think reasonable people, would say should be a treaty, but nonetheless framed this deal as a choice between his deal and war.
Lou, my greatest concern here is what was just put in the agreement at the 11th hour at the demand of Russia and Iran. And that was a lifting of other sanctions that have to do with their intercontinental ballistic missile system because Russia wants to sell that technology for targeting to Iran. So at the last minute, this was put into the agreement. The Pentagon, I think, is very upset about it. I'm going by the words of Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who said, under no conditions should these sanctions be lifted, and by the words of Ash Carter, our Secretary of Defense, who strongly objected. And so that's my main concern, but secondarily, to give Iran money on the front end here as we lift the sanctions, which they'll move into buying additional terror in the region, and lastly, a 24-day process instead of 24 hours for access to sites, and that just starts the adjudication phase. That's not go anywhere anytime sanctions or inspections.
The president, as you know, said very clearly 24/7 inspections, verification. And can you, in any part of this agreement, find anything that approximates 24/7? Go where the inspectors will at their choice and at the time of their choosing?
Yeah, you and I thought that 24/7 meant 24 hours to go and inspect. It turns out it means 24 days. And 7 may refer to the 7 months it might take to go through all of the process of objections from China and Russia at the, as part of the process of getting the permission of Iran, China, Russia to get into those sites. So this is a disaster in terms of the ability to have inspections. This is worse than the North Korean nuclear framework agreement, which did not have inspections, and we know how that ended up with North Korea obtaining the nuclear bomb.
Do you regret that the Republican leadership did not insist on constructing this as a treaty and insisting upon a 2/3 approval on the part of the Senate? Because it looks right now, and I'd like your opinion on this, it looks very much right now like the burden rests upon primarily the Republican Party, and that there is a very, very slight chance that if indeed the Republicans and Democrats, some of them, object to this deal, that there's very little chance that they can stop.
If we could get the 60 votes in the Senate in order to get legislation through to make it a treaty. Part of the problem was that the precedent that the court would be looking at was that the North Korean framework agreement was not handled as a treaty,
right,
nor the Shanghai Communique, nor even the Helsinki Agreement with the former Soviet Union.
Right.
So we were, what they said was the court would not take it up. The court had opined in the past that this is a political decision between the Congress and the White House. If we could have gotten past the president to pass that legislation, that would have been very good to do.
And your reaction to the fact that this president, this White House, is taking this deal to the United Nations for its approval, irrespective of what the United States Congress does or does not do?
Mike McCall and I, he's chairman of Homeland Security, fired off a letter to the President of the United States directing the White House not to do that. Indeed, yesterday I called the deputy at the White House in charge of this, and today I talked to our ambassador to the United Nations to tell them, do not do this, because Congress has the right to review this document over the next 65 days. They're arguing, well, it won't go into effect for 90 days.
Yeah.
What we're saying is put put this in abeyance because we feel when the facts come out in front of the American public, we have an opportunity with some of the comments that the Pentagon has made about this to rally the American public in a bipartisan way against the agreement.
And if President Obama ignores your letter?
Well, if he ignores our letter, we're going to push forward with our resolution of disapproval, and that will include not allowing the liftings of the sanctions on the arms embargo. And so we're incorporating that into our effort to oppose what the White House is attempting to do.
Well, it's going to be quite a month or two here. Congressman Ed Royce, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Lou.